Hey everybody, my name is Evan. This is my first video on this channel and I want to introduce myself. But first, I want to ask you the question if you are happy with where you are in your career, with your goals, with what you want out of life. If you answer yes to that, good for you. That's really cool. But if you haven't, maybe stick around and listen and probably watch me fall because it's very icy out. And so a little bit about me. I'm 24. I have had 12 jobs, and while I don't think that makes me a very good candidate for telling you how to be successful in your career, it does mean that I have probably more experience than most 24-year-olds. I've worked blue-collar jobs, I've worked white-collar jobs, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in installation, construction. I've been a technician at an auto shop. I've done all kinds of different things. Some good, some bad, some more or less indifferent. But what I think that I want to share from that experience is that even at the jobs that weren't terrible, I still didn't feel like I was where I was supposed to be. And now I want to preface this really quick by saying that not everybody in this life has the luxury of leaving a job whenever they want. I live at home with my parents. We're not wealthy, but I've lived probably middle class to upper middle class life. I've had to work for the things that I have, but I've also had, an easier life probably compared to some people. So keep that in mind when you're listening to everything I'm saying right now, that this isn't from a place of someone who has struggled greatly financially or has a home or kids or very many responsibilities. If you're one of those people, I don't know if this video is going to be helpful or not. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but there's probably a lot of people my age in the same situation. So I'm more addressing people who feel like they relate to this. Anyway, so what I was saying was I've had a lot of jobs, and at none of them have I ever felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And I think that's partially due to the fact that I am not meant to have a job in the traditional sense. I don't think I'm the kind of person who is meant to go to work for somebody to clock in, do things that don't really pertain to me as an individual, and then go home and repeat the next day. Right now, I do have a job, and it isn't the worst. I work from home. I work 20 hours per week doing marketing. I'm the only employee at this company. So that kind of brings me into my first talking point, which is that growing up in the current United States, this is only about the United States, so I don't have any experience from other countries. So living in the United States, growing up, we are, very slippery. We are told that you will grow up and you will get a job, which is good and bad because it creates a society of people who work, which is good for society. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating against working, but I am just making a suggestion here that maybe it doesn't have to be what you think. So everybody kind of has to work, right? And we're taught that the way to do that is to probably go to college, maybe not go to college, maybe work in a trade. That's fine too. But, go to college, go into a trade. We aren't taught in school that if we want something that has nothing to do with a 9-to-5 job, it is possible to pursue that. We're given all of these skills to work for someone else. Our teachers are like our bosses, and they grade us based on our performance, and they give us performance reviews in the form of test grades and those sorts of things. And we are prepared very well for how to handle working for somebody and being graded upon someone else's ideas of what is right and wrong, which makes for a really functioning society of working individuals. I think there's people like me who don't function very well in those kinds of roles. What if you don't feel like working as you've experienced it is for you? You know, that puts you in a tough spot. It puts you in a tough spot because, well, if you don't work, you're not going to have money. And if you don't have money, you're going to die, pretty much. Right, so if you find yourself in a position where you don't want to have a regular job, the first thing you need to ask yourself is why? Is it because you don't want to work and you want to have an easy life? And to which I would probably say that's not going to happen unless you're very wealthy or hit the lottery, and in which case you probably won't be happy either, and you'll probably die young, like most people who win the lottery. So not working isn't really the key either. So that's kind of contradictory, right? You don't want to work, and that's fine, but if you don't work, you're probably going to die soon. So that's not really good either, because you definitely can't get what you want if you're dead. And so that's not going to work, right? So you have to figure out a couple of things. How to be alive, how to continue being alive, and how to work the least amount possible at a job. And I think that kind of brings me into my next point, which is that maybe not, but maybe there are ways that you can reduce the amount you have to work at your job and still maintain a decent standard of living. Do you have something like a luxury apartment or a luxury car? Do you spend money on clothing often? Clothes that you don't need? Do you spend money on electronics like phones, things that you don't really need? I could probably go on and on about things you don't need, right? But the point is that the less things that you have in your life that cost you money that you don't need, the less you have to work. Maybe there are things that you can get rid of in your life or streamline or learn how to do that will decrease the cost that you have every month. Maybe you can cook yourself food. I cook myself food every day. I love cooking. It's one of my favorite things to do. I cook. I don't drive very much because I work from home. I get a lot of enjoyment out of going out for walks and going biking. I don't go out and spend money on like drinking, right? Those kinds of things. So if you can reduce the amount of things that you think you need and kind of live a more bare minimum lifestyle, you might be able to work less. And if you work less, you can start focusing on things that actually matter to you. And that kind of brings me into the last point that I have. My mustache is getting very wet. So the last point that I have, and this is a very, very important point, and this is probably even more important than working less, and that is, what do you do if you find yourself in the situation that you either don't have to go to work, you don't have to have traditional work, or you are able to work less and you have more time on your hands that nobody's telling you what to do. Now, this is probably where a lot of people are going to experience some pitfalls, because they don't teach you what to do if you have extra time on your hands. And if you have extra time on your hands, it's always kind of been a negative thing. Like, how many times have you heard, this is what happens maybe when someone has too much time on their hands, right? That's kind of a common saying. And it's sort of true, right? If you have too much time on your hands and no direction, you'll probably not do anything good. If you have bad habits and then you stop working or you work less suddenly, you're probably going to spend most of your free time engaging in those bad habits, like scrolling, watching videos, playing video games, watching porn, all that good stuff, drinking maybe, because what else are you supposed to do, right? That's the stuff that you did when you had just a little bit of free time, and now you have a lot of free time, so it kind of stands to reason that that's also what you'll do during your free time. And that is where it's bad to have free time if you can't structure it in a way that promotes positivity and growth. I think the best piece of advice that I can give anybody who's watching this video is that if you get into a situation where you have more time on your hands than you had before, it's important that you actually use that time to grow somehow and to do things that are worthwhile, because there are a ton of things worthwhile that have absolutely nothing to do with working. So many things. Pursuing things that you've wanted to do that you didn't do because you didn't have time. Maybe you have a little bit of money and you want to go travel. These are all really worthwhile things. And if you're working 40 hours a week for the rest of your life, you're not going to have time to do them. What I do, I go out for walks, I go to the gym, I spend time with my family and my girlfriend. I spend my time doing things that make me feel good inside and make me feel like I'm actually doing something important. And I want to wrap this up with one final thought, since I've probably been talking for way too long. And if I found myself on my deathbed tomorrow, I would not feel regret about my life, because I did all the things, and I'm only 24, and I live at home with my parents, and I don't have a ton of money, but I feel more successful in my life than I think I've ever felt. And that's because I have everything that I want. I have free time. I get to do what I want every day. I have a relationship with a girl who I love very much, and we've been together for 5 years. I have a good relationship with my parents and my siblings, and I spend time with them. I go out for walks, and I don't think I regret very much. And I don't regret very much. I don't have very much anger towards anybody or anything. I don't have very many people out there who are angry at me. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to want. Right now, I don't want anything. And that is probably the most liberating feeling I've ever had. So, thank you all for listening. I hope that you are in some way able to find a different situation for yourself if you don't like the one that you're in. I'm sure you can in some way.